Good morning, everybody. Glad to be back with you this Saturday morning. My name is Ed Samuel. I'm a career coach with a firm called Sam Nova. We're based in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, and serve clients in the greater Philadelphia area and across the U.S. You know, this is such an unusual time, and I hope and pray that you and your family are safe in the midst of this pandemic. You know, the good news is light's finally emerging, breaking through related to the economy coming back. I know many who have landed jobs in the last 60 days, believe it or not. But please do not give up on your efforts to land a job or move your career forward. Keep pressing forward. Now, we're going to continue with our Career Spotlight series. I'm talking to people from all walks that have landed in a career that finally seems to resonate with them in all ways. You know, it's not only the end destination, but about their journey, the twists, the turns, the stumbles, the scars, but also the perseverance, the risk-taking, the faith, and how people start to give back. And certainly, this morning we'll be talking about resilience. So I'm honored to spend time with Stanley H. Greene, who hails from Philadelphia, PA this morning. Stanley is the president of PowerThinking Corporation. He spent more than 25 years leading and changing organizations, both the private and public sectors, by focusing on changing the thinking of people on teams. Stanley has led companies in the cable TV, cable programming, internet, and even the synthetic turf industries. Most recently, he served as deputy treasurer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. His effectiveness in resilience training has now grown globally. And he's done work in both China and Japan. Now, I've personally have attended several of Stanley's resilience weekly forums, and wow, they've been amazing. And I can attest to the national and global attendance on these very powerful and motivational calls each week. So, Stanley, welcome to the program.
Ed, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so hey, let's start from the beginning. Where are you from originally?
From the beginning, Philadelphia. Born at the old Philadelphia General Hospital. Lived in West Philadelphia at 32nd and Haverford. Was my earliest recollection. And then North Philadelphia, 30th and Diamond Street. And then West Oak Lane, where I graduated from Germantown High.
Wow, so what did you go to school for? What was your undergraduate degree in, and kind of what did you think about focusing on at that early age?
At an early age, from the time I was in fifth grade, my brother purchased a movie camera and projector, and we didn't have much money, so the sacrifice to do that because I had an interest in television was amazing. And I was influenced by a TV show, one of my favorites. I still watch it, called Bewitched. And I was always intrigued with the special effects and how she made people disappear. Samantha made people disappear and reappear. And so when I got my camera set, that's all I did. You see my brothers and sisters disappearing and reappearing. You know, I figured out how to do it, and it worked out great. So I had an interest in communications, in media, and impacting, using media to impact people. So initially, at Penn, I majored in communications, but it wasn't quite like Temple's hands-on production type communications. It was more policy. And so then I just kind of veered into urban studies and get my degree in urban studies at Penn.
Wow. So it started in communications, and then it kind of shifted over to urban studies. Now, in the midst of all this, there's a round ball that came into your life at University of Penn. Talk to us a little bit about your sports focus.
Sure. I was able to be recruited by, major Division I schools, Yale, Penn, and Temple, others, Davidson. And it was only about 5 years after I learned how to play the game. I was embarrassed when I was at Wagner Junior High because I was drafted into playing a game when they were shorthanded, and they didn't know I couldn't play. I tried to tell them. And, of course, I grabbed the ball, didn't know what I was doing, and I had teased on the 6 trolley down Ogontz Avenue the next day going to school. And I was determined to learn that game and determined to bounce back from that adversity. And eventually he was recruited by Chuck Daly, who's a Hall of Fame NBA coach now, was before he passed. He led the Detroit Pistons to 2 NBA championships and coached the first Dream Team with Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and those guys. So I was honored to have been recruited by Chuck Daly and to be part of Penn basketball during the heyday in the 70s.
Well, I was doing a little research on you. You were in that sports team, though, that you were looked upon as somebody who was kind of motivating people, and I think you even won an award on motivation one year.
I did, yes. You sure did your research. I won the Most Inspirational Player Award my junior year. Actually, my sophomore year, which was really crazy. The Penn band had a cheer, for me, and they would play the drums, and they'd go Stan Greene, and it became a standard cheer at football games, hockey matches, everywhere, and it lasted for 10 years. So I had the sense that maybe it was something about the way I played and the effort that I gave that inspired the fans to do that. It's amazing. Wow. There's a write-up on it in the Palestra, actually.
Oh, really? That's amazing. Yeah, I was amazed to see that, and yet when you graduated, you shifted. You started your career at this little old company called Verizon, and talk to us a little about those early formative years at Verizon, and I think I read 12 some jobs.
That's correct. Yes, came out of school. I interviewed with different companies. One was a bank, and the old PNB Bank, and then Verizon interview came, and the bank offered me $12,000 a year, and Verizon at the time, it was Bell of Pennsylvania, then part of Ma Bell, AT&T, offered $18,000, so it was a no-brainer. It was all about money at that point.
Yeah.
And what was amazing, at 22, I was a supervisor for the first time. At the age of 23, I was leading a cable splicing crew. The youngest guy was 10 years older than me, and up in Northeast Philadelphia, at around State Road. And I had to improve their productivity. They were underperforming, and even though I didn't know anything about the job, I was charged with improving their productivity, and we did it because it was about the connection with people, building the trust, and then together, getting to achieving and exceeding goals.
Yeah, what was the last role at Verizon before you ended up making a shift again?
The last role was a little over 30 years ago, and that was I was an engineer at one point. I was part of the whole team that broke up, that was delivering and assigning assets between AT&T and Bell and Bell Atlantic at the time. And my last role was in customer service in Northwest Philadelphia in the Germantown section, leading customer service teams.
Wow. So then you made this shift in your career to the financial sector, and you even did some work for the Inquirer. So talk to us a little bit about that shift and what kind of led you that direction.
Sure. Probably midway in my Bell telephone career, about maybe the 6-year mark or so, when I was in engineering, I would go out to parts of Philadelphia. I remember, in particular, North Philadelphia, and in some of those neighborhoods, and looking over the pole lines and cables with the goal of replacing those cables. But then I would notice, guys in particular standing on the corner and doing nothing. And I thought, wow, there has to be something for people to do. And economics is where I wanted to focus. I conducted my first credit seminar when I was about 29 years old at a hotel. And then from that point, got on the radio at WDAS in Philadelphia, wrote a column for the Tribune, and then wrote columns in the Inquirer and Daily News, and was selected by the Daily News to help out with a series that Harry Gross was doing, where he would have guest experts do second opinions of his profile of families and the advice he would give them, and then I would appear next to Harry Gross with the advice I would give, and I would always compare mine to Harry because I admired him so much, and later found that he was a Penn class president as well. I'm class president at 78, and his was in the early 40s, and it was kind of a thrill to meet him at Penn, doing that.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I was doing that on a part-time basis, even though I developed quite a reputation and a name for myself while I was working at Bell. I was writing my column and doing my show. And I was leaving at 30 years ago, about this time, my goal was to leave Bell to do that on a full-time basis before being recruited by a guy named Jerry Lenfest, who led Suburban Cable and the Lenfest Group.
Yeah, so then you got recruited by Suburban Cable. So then off you go in terms of this career in cable TV. Go walk us through a little bit of this shift and what kind of work did you do there? Because it sounded like when I was reading, you did some heavy lifting there.
Very heavy lifting. I was about 33 years old, and actually it was a gentleman I told you about the early days of Bell. There was a gentleman who was a middle manager and director of operations, and the work that I did positively impacted his results. Fast forward 10 years, and he's now a vice president under Jerry Lenfest, and he recruited me. I said, look, I'm going to leave and do my financial business full time. He said, oh, I need your help. We have a struggling cable system in Delaware County. It's one of Jerry's worst. He had 13 cable systems. This was almost dead last in every category.
Wow.
And because of my track record, he said, we need you to come here and clean it up. I turned him down initially, but then he said, you got to meet Jerry Lenfest. I met Jerry, and we both hit it off. And I said, it'd be kind of great to turn around one of his cable systems because he may be able to help me one day. And that's what we did. We went from number 11 out of 13 cable systems to number 2 in just a year and a half. And it was all about focusing on the people and helping them to be more positive and solutions focused and recognize that they had the power to improve the processes and the outcomes in that organization.
Well, that's amazing. And I just wanted to go back to a point you made, it's so important that you impress some people at Verizon to the point where you were then recommended later in your career. And it's so important to those people who are listening. When you do work for really good work for people, they remember you.
That's right.
And you don't have to stay with that company. You could actually move on. And next thing you know, they move on. And guess what? They're thinking about you. And there's, and they're, they reached out to you. So I love those stories about how networking continues to pull people forward.
Yes.
So now you've done some really heavy lifting in the cable industry. But then there was a point where, hey, maybe I'm going to start breaking away on my own. What was the deciding point when you started thinking about doing that?
Well, initially in the cable industry, we did the heavy lifting with Suburban, and then I was recruited to come in to run Greater Media Cable. And at that point, when Bell Atlantic was looking to buy a cable system, TCI, there was going to be this mega merger that introduced then the information superhighway, interactive multimedia. This was back in the mid-'90s. They were talking about fiber to the home, which is now Fios. And I actually went back to the telephone company. I left as a manager in 1990. They brought me back in 94 as a vice president, reporting to a senior VP who reported to CEO, legendary CEO Ray Smith, who did all the consolidations that formed Verizon. So I did all of that, but after a few years there, I decided I wanted to go back and be more entrepreneurial. And then I actually came into a music video channel called The Box and was struggling. It was almost out of business, and we turned that around and sold it to MTV. So I came back into more of the smaller entrepreneurial environments and working again for Jerry Lenfest in the late 90s, and actually created the first TV news channel called Tri-State Media News in 1999 that became CN8 News when Comcast bought Jerry Lenfest out in 2000.
Well, now where do you think that entrepreneurial spirit? Where do you think it comes from? If you dig deep and you really think about it, something was driving you. Was it the turnaround of helping companies turn around, or what's this kind of what was gnawing at you there?
Well, I think it was working with Jerry Lenfest. It was one thing to work for a big corporation, but it was quite another to be with a person who gave you space to do what you needed to do. He didn't give me orders of how to do what I needed to do, and I liked that. I was a young 33-year-old general manager, then vice president general manager, who was given the confidence to do whatever I needed to do, implement any strategies I needed to implement to get to the bottom line. And I like that element of it, taking the risks and not just taking orders. So that influenced me significantly.
Wow, that's it sounds like he was anything but a micromanager, and that's wonderful. So now all of a sudden, in the midst of this, the state of Pennsylvania comes knocking. Talk to me about this twist to the government sector in the state of Pennsylvania. How did that come about?
Sure. Well, and in between, there was running an internet company during the dot-com bubble and moving through that to the synthetic turf industry, and ultimately becoming not only CEO of the company, but chairman of the board of the Synthetic Turf Council, the industry trade association. But then I was approached to assist a friend of mine who was then the state treasurer for Pennsylvania. He wanted me to come in and try my hand at public service, which I turned down because I always vowed that I'd stay as far away from politics and government as possible. But then I decided, you know what, you only get one shot in life at something like this. And I came in, became a deputy treasurer, led the Bureau of Unclaimed Property, and focused on financial literacy and helping legislators to get a bill introduced that would mandate financial literacy education in all the schools in Pennsylvania.
Well, one of the things that strikes me is that you kind of have a little bit of a history of saying no and then going back and revisiting. But I think it's a wonderful thing because I think some people with their careers, they say no, and it's more of a hard no, and they would just walk away. It sounds like you said no, but then you really thought about it a lot more to kind of change your perspective. I really applaud you for that. Now, how long were you with the state of PA?
I was with Pennsylvania for a little over about 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
13, 14, about 3 years. 3 years there.
And then what happened in terms of you left them to start your own company? And let's start talking a little bit about what you do today and why this shift, and tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Many years ago, when I was going through, and I like to tell folks that I crammed 3 lifetimes of careers into one lifetime.
It certainly sounds like it. Yep.
And midway through, I always, you go back to the days of doing the financial programs. It was about helping people to move forward. And so, after having all of those experiences, I thought, man, I just want to be able to help the average person realize that they can accomplish anything that they set their minds to. And years ago, before I joined the Treasury, I actually acquired the assets of another company called Reflective Learning that had the intellectual property in resilience that came out of the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center, a well-known program. And when I looked at the material, I thought, this is it. This is everything I've ever done. And wow. I know that this material works. It's certainly evidence-based from Penn, but I lived it in helping people to succeed. So I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my life helping people to achieve what they may think is impossible.
it's pretty amazing because when you listen to your story, they were all building blocks of experience leading up to this, you starting a company, leveraging all that experience to help other people and businesses.
Yes, exactly. It is no better place to be.
Now, tell the audience a little bit about your weekly Power Thinking and Resilience program, the one that I mentioned as I was introducing you.
Sure. Well, and by the way, everybody needs to know that all of this stuff that I've done, it seems like, oh man, that's what I want. Success, success, success. But there's been a lot of stumbles. We can do 2 hours of some of the setbacks and failures. So I really believe that, the most important skill we can have, is our ability to bounce back from setbacks, because we're all going to have them. We're going through global pandemic now, social unrest. Everybody's affected by the same adversity, and we just have to bounce back. So I actually bought the company back in 2011 and spent years trying to figure out where the other company failed and getting this tremendous stuff across. I had to figure out how to do it. And these weekly calls where we reinforce skills each and every week, started that 2 years ago by doing this in Japan and doing it in China, and then with Aflac, and did some work with Comcast. And now I know that if people can attend these calls on a weekly basis, they can actually shift their mindset so that they are stronger in the area of bouncing back from adversity.
Wow. So Stanley, for those who don't know, what does it take to join one of your calls, and how would one do so?
Yep, simple. They can actually just call me or text me. Best to text me at this number, 215-219-8409, and leave the first and last name. I'll put you in our texting database so that you receive text reminders about the call. We'll send you a video. It'll be like 3 to 4 minute, 5-minute video, which will focus on a specific skill or inner strength. And then the following morning, you'll get reminders for the 7:30 a.m. call, only 30-minute call, and the 9:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. call, 30 minutes. You'll get a reminder, and that'll come automatically each and every week. All you have to do is text me 215-219-8409.
Wow, that's fantastic. Stanley, as we start to close in here, towards the end here, what's one advice you would give people right now in the midst of this COVID-19 in terms of coming out of this crisis that we're in? Can you give one bit of advice that you would share with people right now?
You hear it from our leaders, and the biggest thing is that these are times when I try to get people to avoid negative emotions, and there are 5 big negative emotions. One of the key big negative emotions that people are experiencing now is anxiety, and that's the fear of a future threat. We just don't know what's going to happen, if we're going to be okay, how's the economy going to be. And the one piece of advice that applies to dealing with anxiety is to stay calm. This is one of the skills one of the 7 skills of resilience. To stay calm and focus on what's important. So take a deep breath, 3 seconds, big deep breath in, and then exhale for 6 seconds. You'll be amazed at how that calms you down. You can think more clearly, and then begin to be grateful for all the things we have. At night, before going to bed, write down 3 good things that happened that day, as opposed to this went poorly, that was bad. 3 good things that happened. Combination of calming and focusing and putting in things in perspective with the 3 good things exercise will work wonders for you. And of course, join our calls.
Beautiful. Stanley, if somebody wanted to reach you, and let's say a business or an individual wanted to hire you as a consultant, what's the best way? Is to send you a text to that number? What's the best way?
Yeah, just send me a text at the same number, 215-219-8409, and we'll handle anything you need.
Well, Stanley, it's been a pleasure chatting with you this morning. What a career. Everything's been the building block. We'll have you back at some point here because I'd love to talk to you about a whole bunch of things. This is just kind of just, the tip of a pretty big iceberg story. But I want to thank you for coming in. And again, I'm hoping to collaborate with you in some way in the years ahead here. So again, thank you so much for coming in, Stanley.
Ted, it was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for allowing me to kind of go back and take you up to today. And I really enjoyed it and look forward to working together with you. And thanks for being on our calls.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, hey, we're just about out of time this morning. For those new to the program, I did publish my first book at the end of 2019 called Optimize Your Resume, Do's and Don'ts the Sam Nova Way. It's now available on our secure website, and we'll even pick up the shipping costs at www.samnovainc.com. That's SAM, Nova like the star, NOVAINC.com. And you can also order it via Amazon on paperback as well as Kindle. Again, it's called Optimize Your Resume, Your Do's and Don'ts. Please follow me on LinkedIn if you're not connected to me already. Keep an eye out for my next public speaking events. In July, I'll be speaking to a group in Pittsburgh, in Philadelphia, and I think next up will be at Wharton University. So join me on our next Optimize Your Career program, Saturday, July 18th. This is Ed Samuel, career coach with Sam Nova. Again, our website is www.samnovainc.com. And if you want to reach me with a question or comment, email me at esamuel, ESAMUEL, at samnovainc.com, or call our main number at 610-274-8214. So have a great 4th of July. Make it a safe one, and God bless.